Hey everyone, this is Ronan the Nighttime Entrepreneur, and today's video is actually quite special. It's the first interview I've done on the channel, and it's also my first interview on the Nighttime Entrepreneur podcast. I spent some time this week talking to seven-figure Amazon seller Chris Nowak, who's also the founder and owner of MyPPCPal.com. Now, during the interview, Chris actually drops some gold when it comes to being a successful Amazon seller, as well as talking about everything pay-per-click. We actually spent the majority of the episode talking about general Amazon selling and how his approach differs from a lot of other sellers. If there is a video of mine that you watch this year or a podcast episode of mine that you listen to this year, this would have to be it. There's absolute gold during this interview. Chris covers multiple topics and gives some really clever food for thought when it comes to being an Amazon seller, scaling your business up, and becoming a master at PPC and keeping your costs down. I'm going to leave a link to the podcast in the description box below, and also I'm going to link you to everything we spoke about during the interview. And if there are other guests or other topics you'd like us to cover in future, just let me know. I would really urge you to watch and listen to the full episode. And if you want to see more videos like this or more interviews with really successful Amazon sellers, just subscribe to the channel. So without further ado, here's the episode. Hey guys, welcome to the Nighttime Entrepreneur podcast. I'm your host Ronan, and today we have Chris Nowak with us, a very special guest. He is the founder of MyPPCPal.com, but before that, he is actually an Amazon seller himself. Hey Chris, thanks for joining us in the podcast today.
Hey, thanks for having me, Ronan.
No problem. Okay, so just to begin, am I pronouncing it correct? Is it Nowak or Nowak?
No, it's German, so it's pronounced Novak.
Nowak. Oh, excuse me. And I'm the one here in Europe, and you're in California, and here I am getting it wrong.
All right.
Cool. I'm glad I got that one out of the way. I would have called you the wrong name for the whole interview. So Chris, I have a good few questions for you. I was laying them out a little bit earlier today. The audience know a little bit about me. Would you mind covering a little bit about yourself, kind of where you're from and things like that, and currently what you're up to?
Yeah, sure. So as far as Amazon goes, I started on Amazon. Actually, my account dates back to 2004. I was selling used video games from Blockbuster when I was in junior college, and kind of dropped that when Blockbuster closed their doors. And then I had owned a business back in like 2012 and sold that. It was a local service business, and I had been hearing about the Amazon opportunity, and in 2015, that's when I decided I was going to start my first private label brand.
Wow, 2015. So that's been going for about 3 years now. And did you have success right off the bat? Did you find the right product straight away, or did you have any sort of failures or anything like that?
Yeah, so in the initial research phase, so I was still, I work in a full-time job, so I was kind of doing it like nighttime and when I could, when the boss wasn't around. And so I basically was sitting there. So none of the tools existed. So there was no Jungle Scout. There was no whatever other tools are out there now for finding volume and all that. So I was doing like the add to cart, the $9.99 trick. And I was tracking one niche for, honestly, like 3 months, just hesitant about it. Something wasn't right. I had designed the whole product. We had like, it had to be like custom. It was a fabric product. So we had to design like our own designs for the fabric and all this. And I had downloaded programs to create my designs, Adobe Illustrator and all this, and learned how to use that. And 3 months into it, something just didn't feel right. I had so much to spend on my business in the beginning, and it was going to be like all that on the initial order. And I was like, this just doesn't sound right. And so within probably about 3 days from there, I had picked out another product. I had placed orders for samples with 3 different manufacturers, and that product ended up doing well. And that was my first product. And I kind of built now a brand around that first product that I launched. So there was some hesitation in the beginning, but luckily I kind of sensed it in my gut that it wasn't the right decision on that first product. So I avoided that. Could have been a disaster.
Excellent. Brilliant. Do you find Amazon is a little too crowded now. I hear people say, with all of these tools, even the tools you just mentioned, that it can be quite crowded. Do you consider yourself kind of you got in at the right time, or do you think you'd be able to kind of come in and compete now as well?
So, I mean, I definitely had an advantage starting when I did. And, the people that started in 2014 had an advantage over me. But I think it's like everything. There's definitely opportunity. And so I don't have a fear of it. I don't have a fear of starting over. I learned a whole lot, in the process. And I think the days are like when I started, honestly, I probably could have just launched anything. It was kind of that time, where I could have launched something and made money. So I think that is over, but there is a tremendous amount of opportunity left in Amazon, even if you start today.
Yeah, of course. Well, that's really good to hear, especially for a lot of my audience who are quite new to Amazon. I'm kind of, I haven't been running the channel for too long, so a lot of the people who come to the channel are brand new sellers. And so, obviously, you're a seller and you became a seven-figure seller. Do you think moving from a five-figure seller to a six to a seven, are there, some people say there's levels to the game, to every game. Do you think there is? And what do you think that is? Is it being clever with your advertising? Is it branding outside of Amazon? Or is it just reinvesting everything straight back into your product? Or is it branching out into new products? So would you be able to rank those for us? Or what was your opinion beyond that?
Yeah. So, I still to this day, the number one thing that I could do to grow my business is new products.
Mm-hmm.
So that will, I think, never change. I spent the majority of last year trying to expand onto Walmart, and I think I got orders of like $15,000 from Walmart
Wow.
out of the over, nearly $4 million in orders from Amazon.
Wow.
Um, so to focus on these other channels, everyone's saying you got to diversify, you got to do that. I have a different opinion, I think, than like a lot of people will tell you. My opinion is that right now the opportunity is Amazon, right? We've always had this opportunity to build a business, really. I mean, that's always been there. It could have been brick and mortar, and now there's e-commerce platforms. So the opportunity to build a e-commerce store has been there forever. What hasn't been there forever is fulfillment by Amazon, and then also Amazon really taking over the world as far as e-commerce goes. So that's your number one, or a lot of your focus needs to go is Amazon. Um, I have never personally blasted a product. I've never used a launch service. I've never kind of done any of that. Giveaways, nothing. It's all been organic. It's all been with, pay-per-click, price strategies, brand strategies. I do have a Facebook following for my brands that we send, out basically offers to them. But it's really been just kind of doing things the right way. And it's like a long-term game rather than this like fighting for everyone fighting for the top spot for the spatula. There's got to be a lot of losers in those situations, So the
Mm-hmm.
number one thing is always going to be, no matter what level you're at, the fastest way to grow your business is launch more products. And I still believe that today. Um, as far as like, I my Shopify store, I have it there, but we have options to click through to Amazon, and then we're able to track that. What goes back to Amazon. So we get a lot of traffic to our website. We see that a lot of people buy our products because we direct them through specific links to Amazon, and that helps further our organic rank. But I think all of last year, I probably had 6 orders on my Shopify store. So it's not that either. It's not it's not focusing on that and building that out. It's really focus on Amazon, Amazon.com in particular.
Mm-hmm.
I expanded to the UK in 2016, and not much success there. It probably accounted for 10% of my business last year, and but I haven't put much effort on it because I still again see there's bigger revenue, bigger profit in launching a new product. I don't do any sort of like email lists. I don't have that built up for the brand. We have, like I said, the social media accounts. Um, we have a lot of influencer marketing. So one of my virtual assistants will reach out to influencers pretty much weekly. And so then they kind of do our social media promotions for us too. We don't pay for any of that. We've come up with systems that basically we're not paying for influencers at all, and they're advertising our product for us to their large channels. It's really just my strategy has been launch products, build out a great listing. So I've always paid for my first product. I took the photos. My wife and I took them ourselves. We were the hand models and the product models. But after that, once I saw success with the first product, I've hired out the professional photographer. So don't cut corners on that stuff. I also pay for a listing to be professionally copyrighted each time. And so like when I'm launching a product with the product costs, it's probably, I look at like a $5,000 costs. And that's like a minimum, if the product is higher, like if the product has like a $5 or $10 unit cost, it's going to be higher than that. It may be 7,500 or 10,000, but I think if you want to launch a product right and have success, you got to go into it with the right attitude. So one is, like I said, build the professional listing, take the professional photos. The other is have enough inventory. The worst thing is you order 300 units and that thing starts selling 20 a day. There's no way you're going to get stock in time to keep it in there. And if you go out of stock right away, you just hurt your chances of basically ever becoming a top seller for that product. Because once you get that 28-day history on Amazon, it really counts against you. So let's say you're in stock for 2 weeks and then you're out of stock for 2 weeks. Well, they're going to take that 28 days and say, okay, and so he was in stock for 14 days and he sold 20 units a day maybe, but then for 14 days he sold 0. So now it's 10 a day. So that could be the difference in page 1 to page 2 by the time you get back in stock. So you have to go into it and kind of commit to it and feel confident in your product research, And the hardest one is the first product. I will say that the hardest, because I had that hesitation, but once you have a product, and also don't pick a product that you can't already envision your next 20 products,
Okay.
I heard a story, and it's a great success story, but I heard a story about a company that made a handle for the Yeti cup. Actually, I have one of them. So this is a Yeti cup, and they made a handle for it. There's no handle on this, so so they made a handle for it, and I forget what their numbers were, but they sold something ridiculous, $5 million of them in a year. But then it's, how do you build a brand on a handle, right? And what do you do when 10 competitors see that you're selling a handle well, and you can't do anything to copyright that because it's Yeti's cup, so you can't make another handle for like another cup because Yeti's the big one. So look at your first product and say, like, obviously you don't have to have them picked out, but know in the back of your head that, there's 20 products easily that are related to this that people will buy. And once you have that first product picked out, it becomes much easier, 2, 3, 4, 5.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
You have let us in on a lot of quality information there. I just want to roll it back a little bit. You said a couple of things that are absolutely blowing my mind, and I think they're going to blow the mind of a lot of new sellers. You said you didn't use any launch service, and you don't use email lists at the moment. Everybody on the Amazon stratosphere at the moment, all of the gurus and all of this kind of stuff, they're all about email services and launching and all of this kind of stuff. But you've actually managed to turn your Amazon business into a huge success by not doing those things. So would you say that's all down to product selection and the pay-per-click kind of thing, and really focusing on the platform itself rather than I would consider maybe some of the off-platform stuff to be a little bit of a distraction, and I think you probably feel the same.
Yeah. So my first sale was July 22nd, 2015. And I don't think I made my Shopify store till December of 2016. So it was like 100% laser focused, just Amazon, right? I think I had a Facebook, but I had no people working for me then, so no one was really doing anything. I was, again, just focused Amazon. I had an email collection in place on the little website I have. It wasn't Shopify yet, so we couldn't take orders, but so I had an email like collection, and I think to today I'm only up to like 100 emails on my actual business, so we don't force it, right?
Yeah.
Um, but what I did do was just kind of focus on Amazon, and I learned pay-per-click real well. And so I was able to, and I think people are seeing this a lot more like right now. It's catching up, right? So right now, there's a lot of rumors going around about the launch services not working as well. If you've seen that at all, people are starting to get worried about that. They're hearing rumors. I think a lot of that has to do with so many people launching the same product, right? And so if you're all fighting for, I'll use the spatula again, right? If everyone's fighting for the same keyword and they're asking a service and they're saying, how many giveaways should I do for a spatula? Well, the service is going to look at the keyword rankings. They're going to say that person on page one at the top is selling 100 a day. The bottom person selling 20 a day. So if you want to rank on the first page, we're going to recommend 25 a day for 7 days, right? And that's how they kind of come up with those numbers. But what happens when they get 20 of those requests in the same week, right? And so everyone's doing that. So it just becomes less effective, right? Overall.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's part of it. And I also think Amazon is obviously cluing into what's happening with this. You know, they kind of removed the reviews. I think it was October of 2016. They kind of removed that whole incentivized review type of thing. And basically all these people have been trying to find ways around it. So the launch service is been fully compliant, right? But I think Amazon is realizing that now is kind of being manipulated, where people are just going to give more away, right, to rank higher. And they're not really going after the reviews, but they're kind of a byproduct they're getting, but they're legal at that point, right? There's nothing against it in Amazon's eyes. But I think now they're kind of concerned with what they call like the rank manipulation, the BSR manipulation. And so I think what they're gonna do is make these discounted sales less effective on the BSR rank. It's just my opinion of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, that goes back to the long term of like, if you're going to launch and you just use pay per click, I think Amazon is going to reward you more. And they also it's also known that if your average order value is higher, they're going to reward you more.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have the same keyword, right, and that even goes back to price point. So just take the spatula. If some guy's selling it for $19, some guy's selling it for $7.99, and let's say they're both selling 20 units, they're going to rank the higher priced one higher. They're making more commission, you know, and your average order value is higher. That's what Amazon wants. So when you're not using these giveaway services, all your sales are at full price, right? You can pay for PPC, so you could pay, let's say, 80% of the cost, because if you would be giving away at 80% discount, right? So you could have an 80% ACOS in the beginning, but you're doing it the way Amazon wants. You're 100% organic sales. I think they're rewarding it. I think they are. I have no proof, you know, because I've never done the other way.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my opinion of it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I really focused on just doing Amazon and kind of playing by their rules, right? And I think over time they've rewarded that.
Yeah, for sure. You're making perfect sense. You're making such logical sense that I feel silly for doing certain things with my PPC campaigns and launch services and things. But there's a couple of very popular, I suppose, podcasters and YouTubers in the industry talking about Amazon selling, and they've got quite large followings, and they're recommending things like turning off PPC as you go to bed. And I think this kind of stuff can be kind of dangerous. I don't know what your take on that kind of that little tricks, I guess, you know, kind of what would your take be on that kind of stuff? Would you say Amazon would reward you more for being consistently turned on when it comes to your ads?
So let me rewind first too, because I don't want to think like I'm talking bad about the podcasters, you know.
Sure, sure.
I respect a lot of them. There's tons of them that are like
For
really
sure.
great, and they help get started. When I was getting started, you know,
Mm-hmm.
very few of them existed, and
Mm-hmm.
I can't keep up with all of them now, to be honest. But I think for the most part, they're spreading good information, most of them. And the launch services, they still do work. But my whole point with it is that it's not a long-term game. And so if you're in it for the long term, think about other strategies along the way. Like, I don't see any issue with, if you're getting started today and you want to try to use a launch service for your first one, but you also have to turn on PPC. Like you have to do that because you need to get those full price sales. You can't just rely on blasting 20, 25 units a day for 7 days and think I made it, and like this, it's over, game over, like I win. That's not how it works. Um, so that for like, I'm not what they're preaching, it
Mm-hmm.
works, but I
Yeah.
think they're going to start preaching a different message if you look back at the end of this year, because I think Amazon will eventually catch on, right?
Yeah, of
Um,
course. Yeah.
and as far as the
Go ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
I just
Yeah,
wanted
the
to say
turn.
there that it's not all podcasters and YouTubers. I definitely don't want to send that message out either. But it was just there's a couple that would suggest certain things like that.
Yeah, no. I mean, if basically if it ever feels like in your gut, it's wrong, it's probably gonna catch up to you in the long run, and that's kind of I just for me, my personal level of it, I've never thought it was the best idea, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Um, yeah, because it's just not organic, right? It's like if you're trying to build a following and you pay for followers, on one of like Twitter, you go and you buy one of those for $100, they'll give you 10,000 followers. Well, what did that do, really? Like there's like some sort of social proof aspect, but no one's gonna comment or like or anything, and it's not gonna be your audience. So it's kind of like this false puff up in the beginning that kind of generally leads to a letdown unless you picked just an awesome product that was so unique. Then it'll be fine. So it's just more of a long-term strategy, I think, is the organic way. As far as like turning on and off different hours, I've never done it. I look at PPC that basically, so you have to take it for what it's worth too. Like I said, if you're giving away all those units, look at what would that cost you, right? Just they'll tell you on the service, they'll say it costs $2,000 to give away this many units, and then here's our fee on top of it, whatever it is, $2,500. So look at that and say, how many clicks could I get for that $2,500? And don't worry about a 10% ACOS, right? In the beginning, you're launching a product, you're trying to compete with someone who has hundreds of reviews. You will never catch them with 2 reviews unless you pay. You won't, just like flat out, So your ACOS will be higher, and it's a long-term game. And when I launch a product, I don't try, like, honestly, my first order, which could be up to 3,000 units, is generally my first order. If I break even on that 3,000 units, I'm happy. Like literally make zero money, because in the process of selling 3,000 units, I'll get ranked for keywords. I'll build up my review count, right? Maybe at the end of it, I'll have 30 reviews, because it's probably like a 1% review rate when you do organic and you do some sort of follow up, which I do recommend. The email follow ups. Don't be obnoxious with it, but add some value, and then they want to give you a review when you've added them value. Um, you can bump it up to close to 2%, maybe. So maybe I'll get 30 to 50 reviews out of that 3,000 units, and I've made zero money. But starting order 2, I'm going to start to make $5 a unit, right? So you can't look at it as like, I'm going to start this tomorrow and next week I'm going to be profiting. I don't think that's a long term. Can you still do it? Yes, right? But like the long term is, if you find a product that's that great, you're going to have 10 competitors on it in 6 months,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have to worry about the long term stuff, which is that anyway, which is getting more reviews and organic rank and stuff like that, and a good PPC strategy, because that's lasting. So I look at PPC as optimize it as much as I can for where my product's at. So whether that's the launch stage, my ACOS is going to be higher, right? I'll go up to, like I said, like 80%, right? Because 20% of it is usually like just my true product costs. So I'm paying, right? I'm going to pay for those sales. Now that's the first, until I get my first 5 reviews. You can sign up for the early reviewer program. I think it's $60 or something, pretty cheap for each product. That will get you those quick first 5 reviews. And then once you have the 5, then maybe you shoot for an ACOS of 50%. So now you're like close to break even, right? And now you're ranking higher, you're getting more organic sales. So maybe by month 3, you're like halfway through your first order, right? You sold halfway through your first order, and now you're like break even, right? So now you can shoot for maybe a 40% ACOS. Then you kind of blow through the rest of it at like a break even. Maybe the last couple hundred units, now you're actually making a few dollars profit, which makes up for that first few hundred that you sold at a loss, right? So that's why I say, like, I'm just perfectly content if I break even. But then if I make it all the way through that and I've got my 30 to 60 reviews, I've got a great product that I probably, like, I don't try to go for a product if I don't think it can easily sell like 10 a day, because it's just kind of not worth your capital at that point. But I don't go for the, like, I don't want the thing that's doing, I've had stuff that's sold 150 a day and you just get attacked. Like, literally you get attacked. You see the competitors coming. They do all this black tactic stuff. So I just honestly avoid them. Some of them will still shoot up to the top. Like, you'll have a random lucky winner where it's like, wow, I didn't think that could sell that many, and it will. So those are great. But otherwise, you sell 10 to 20 a day. And that's like a lasting thing that was built organically, that you don't have to worry about your reviews being taken away someday because all these people are getting shut down because they were reviewing other items. Like, none of that. It's like totally there. It's organic. You didn't cheat any systems. You didn't have to have any like lists to build that. What if your list goes away, or what if Google changes its thing and you can't do for Facebook ads? What if there's just like, it's just more comfortable, I think, for the long term to focus on an organic strategy, as at least as part, right? If you're gonna, like I said, if you're gonna do the blast, then do this on the side too. So both of them together are even more powerful, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a lot of value about the long game, and I would definitely say the same myself to anyone that I'm coaching on Amazon. The long game is key. I mean, a lot of people get into even thinking about selling on Amazon because they hear the promise that you can just sign up, grab a little product from China, pop it over, set up a Shopify store, throw some ads in there, and you're profitable within 2 weeks. And I suppose because it's a rare opportunity in your everyday life, you don't hear about selling on Amazon everywhere you go, that people think, oh, well, it's so unique. Maybe there's a unique chance that I'll be very profitable very soon. So, yeah, I'd agree.
Mm-hmm.
I'd agree with your point that it's the golden product that really will just take off straight away. But the long game is definitely preferable, and I think it kind of creates a natural selection of sellers. I think the entrepreneurs who sell on Amazon, who are selling the long game, generally carry that quality characteristic throughout the whole process. So I would say that they've probably sourced the highest quality product they can, and just kind of been tip top and as kind of straight as possible throughout the whole process of sourcing and getting things up on Amazon and the actual product itself. Would you kind of think that as well? Do you think there's a certain type of entrepreneur that kind of gets the best products to Amazon, and they are actually just coincidentally have the kind of mindset to think long term as well? And do you think there is a layer of Amazon sellers who are just in it for the quick buck and they haven't really paid attention to product quality, and that kind of impacts all of us as Amazon sellers?
Yeah, I think there's actually a majority probably that are like the option B, where they're looking to make the quick returns. They're not in any way like committed to the product, not that you have to be. Like, I don't believe in the, like, you have to be passionate about your spatula, right, to sell them and make a lot of money. But I would say, like, if you don't cook ever, don't sell spatulas, because how are you going to know how to improve that product for the consumer? And are you actually going to use it? If you walk around my home, there's like 15 of my products that we use on a daily basis in our home. We use them actively. And so then if something breaks on it, I know, oh, I better fix that, or, oh, there's an issue, maybe let me address that in my follow-up email. So if customer has the same issue, they can avoid it. So you don't have to be passionate, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you have to know at least somewhat around your niche. So yeah, I think there's a majority of people that are just looking at the shiny object and they're saying, whoa, there's 3 sellers selling 100 a day and there's 50% profit in this, right? Take the fidget spinner, for example, when that came out. I actually knew a guy who was selling them for $29.99, and he was selling 350 of them a day for a while. And then at the end, he had to liquidate 20,000 of them because he went from selling 350 a day down to like 5 a day when all the competitors hit, and he was trying to sell them for $7.99 and couldn't, right? So there's faster cycles to those hot products too. So Now you can still make money if you're the first person selling fidget spinners. So again, I don't think there's like anything wrong with it, right? But it's that to me gets exhausting after a while, having to worry about, oh my gosh, I'm making 30, 50 grand a month to I'm making $2,000 a month or $1,000 a month because all the competitors came in. You never built a brand around your products. You're not getting any like add to cart on multiple. You know, we have orders where people order 7 of our products because they're literally stuff that they're buying like at the same time. It's not like I can't think of it, like a spatula and a, you could argue that like a salt and pepper shaker, you know, that's in my home and kitchen brand, but people aren't going to buy a spatula and a salt and pepper shaker for the most point together, right? So your brand is also products that you think like people actually buy together, not like it just fits under this brand name. And so it works, and there's people that make a lot of money off of it. But if you want to like constantly be looking for stuff, you know, there's also an opportunity in wholesale and retail arbitrage and online arbitrage too. That, so I think if you're looking at private label, build a brand, or maybe have like a fun, like trendy brand, but then actually be building again, like your long game, right? And so I think that, like, are the people that build the long game just smarter? No, I don't think so. Like, I think they're more long term. And yeah, but I think you're right. They'll end up with a better product because they're thinking long term. They're not rushing to market because they're not following trends. You know, they're building out a brand. And, you know, their products will naturally do better whether they try or not, because like you said, you know, they're sourcing top quality, they're putting money into packaging, they're paying for inspections, they're basically making sure the customer gets a quality product. And then they know about their products because they're building a brand and they're invested in the brand. So if something breaks, they're like, they know what it is, rather just than saying like, oh, stupid customers, you know, they're complaining, I don't know what they're talking about, you know. They're probably ahead of it, and they probably broke in their own house first, and they're like, I better fix this right now for my next order, you know. So yeah, I think that, again, there's nothing wrong with the other side, but I think there are too many right now, and it's becoming even a shorter game to where it's like you might only get through one order of profitability, and then by the time you reorder and get that order back in, you could have 10 competitors where you had 2, you know, and then by the third order you have 30. So again, it's like the long game, right? Build.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Even if you want to, like, it's great if you want to just cash flow, right? If you see a huge opportunity, if you were like the first person to see a fidget spinner and like you thought it was a good idea and you went all in, you could have made a crap ton of money, right? Have you heard about the guy that did the solar eclipse glasses? I don't like know the exact numbers, but it was something ridiculous. Like he sold $7 million of solar glasses. I think he got like $1 million in returns after, but still he sold $6 million of these solar glasses. But there's not going to be another solar eclipse for however many years, right? So like, it's cool. Like, it's great. Like, if that's how you're getting started in your business and you need to make like, okay, I need to go from 5,000 to 10,000. That's a great first step, right? But then think of also like, okay, when I get to that 10,000, then maybe I can launch my real brand and do this right. So there's nothing wrong, as long as you're not like violating the terms of service, so you can't get your account banned doing that short-term stuff. There's nothing wrong with doing a viral launch, running a product that you have no attachment to, that maybe you didn't make the best package for, you just put it in a poly bag. Like, if you're just looking at that as that's just my first product, just to kind of get used to the process of Amazon, right? Understand how FBA works, understand how returns work, get my customer messages down, like kind of figure out all your systems, nothing wrong with that. But then maybe product 2, like if it's still going strong, great, order more, but now take your profits and invest it into your long-term brand, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So always be thinking about that long-term game, whether you're doing these things or not. They're all okay, right? And they'll all work. But it's like rinse and repeat on that, versus you can rinse and repeat building out a brand that's longer sustainable.
Mm-hmm. For the long game kind of stuff, I know you said that you've expanded to the UK. Are you thinking to expand to more marketplaces for the long game, or are you just going to really, really pump it up on Amazon.com to where you're at a point that you're comfortable to let that kind of ride and continue expanding your products throughout those other territories?
Yeah, for me, the focus of this year is just going to be more products, and strictly Amazon.com.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll throw them on my Shopify store. I'm not pumping anything there. Because again, I still think it's the largest opportunity, you know? Oh, it's like you have to decide where to focus your energy, and you know, I look at it, like I said earlier, the opportunity to build what you call like a real business, that's always been there. But I could also build a real business out of what I've done with my Amazon now, because you have so much cash flow at that point that you can decide. But I still see Amazon as the largest opportunity. So yeah, for this year, it's just going to be more products focused there. I may test some other products out in the UK, but actually right now I'm letting my stock dwindle down there
Mm-hmm.
to just reinvest that money into new products, because it's just not as, you know, there's items where I'll sell whatever it is, 20 a day here, and I'll sell 2 a day there. So the stock just turns over different there. And I still have to order just as big quantities from my supplier because they have minimum orders. So,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have to pay for shipping, and then you have to pay for the Amazon storage fees. Then it sits there longer. So I'm just better set up in the US. You know, I've got a full like 3PL partner that receives all my shipments here. They warehouse it for me, so I avoid all the long-term storage fees. Um, so yeah, I'm just going to focus on Amazon.com this year. Um, I have people that I know that are doing, you know, large 6 figures, and some even pushing 7 figures in UK. So it's not something to avoid, right? If your products do well there, maybe just my products aren't, you know, popular in the UK. So for me, it's attention on the US.
I have a feeling you've picked pretty good products, and you're doing what's necessary to make them successful. So I don't think it's your products. I would just say it's a different. The UK is a smaller marketplace. Obviously, of course, it's
Mm-hmm.
incredibly a lot smaller. Now, the UK is one of the top converting online purchasing populations in the world. So when they go online, they tend to purchase more. But just the sheer size of the US. Of the US Amazon population is so huge. So I think it could be a few years until it catches up, or at least until Amazon decide to link the marketplaces somehow, if they could. So
Yeah.
I think a lot of people listening or a lot of people watching will definitely agree with a lot of your points about the long game, and a lot of them do want to go about the long game because they want to be Amazon sellers indefinitely. They want to leave their 9 to 5s or whatever they do, and they want to sell on Amazon and expand to Shopify or whatever, you know. They want financial freedom, like all of us, of course. This long-term strategy really depends on your PPC campaigns and your ability to actually invest money into your advertising. So I suppose it's kind of obvious now I'm segueing to kind of touch on the PPC stuff with you. Did you love the glamour of PPC, or was it just you saw that you could really, if you tapped into this PPC stuff better than your competitors, you would just dominate?
Yeah. So it was, you know, like I said, I took my first sale July 22nd, 15, and it was about like that first holiday season, November, December, that I raised my budgets for like the first like Black Friday going into that on my campaigns. And I had been optimizing like what I thought to do, you know, this whole time up to July to November. And so I raised the budgets on my campaign, and I just never lowered them back down. And Christmas was great and all that. I actually got really close to selling out over Christmas, which was a good thing. But I think maybe one of the SKUs did at that time. But got back in stock for January, and then January was actually bigger than December. And I was like, that's so, you know, everyone's saying that December is like crazy fourth quarter. Um, and I was looking, and I was still spending as much money on advertising as I was in November, December when the shopping season went. I'm like, that's crazy, you know? And then I would always get the emails, well, your budget's out, you know? And I'm like, why am I letting my budget run out on something that like it was profitable, you know? Or it was like at the worst was break even on all my campaigns. So I'm like, if it's break even or profitable, like why would I ever want that advertising dollars to stop spending? So I increased my budgets again, and then I raised in sales again, and then I kind of did it over and over until basically I'll put my caps unlimited right now. Like I would spend as much as they would let me, because I know it's converting at profitable or break even. And then as long as you're profitable or break even, that's boosting your organic rank, which you're getting paid your normal 100% profit on. So I think it was that first like January, February that I realized that basically that I could turn up the volume louder and the sales came along with it. And so I decided to like really focus more on it. I started to like dig around, try to find more long tail keywords to bid on. I found that those long tail keywords were even cheaper to get bids on. So, spatula, you can bid on that, and it might suggest like a $3 bid for a spatula, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then if you look at like wooden handle red spatula, maybe it's $1 for that. And then if you look at gifts for moms that like to cook, you might only pay $0.25. And so I kind of like invested all this time into, learning more about the pay-per-click platform, and just realized like you can push this thing. Amazon is so big and there's so much traffic that if you utilize this, like you could take a product that just launched yesterday and get it in front of 300 million Prime members for
Wow.
$1.
Wow.
Like if you really think about that, like there's no other system in the world to get your product in front of that many hungry and when they come to Amazon, they're looking to buy. Like they're not like, oh, like I'm bored, like let me look around, like they're like ready to go buy something and add it to cart. So like you've got probably one of 3 clicks where that's probably the most times they're going to click on a spatula. So if you're one of the first 3 they click, they're going to buy your product so much percent of the time. And if you're not, you have 0 chance, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So I just kind of understood that really early on, and then focused a whole lot of effort on it, and it paid off.
Wow. With on the long tail keywords, I kind of slipped into selling through Amazon and kind of making money online through ranking on Google, using long-term keywords. So I've actually spent some time using I use a software called Longtail Pro. I don't know if you've heard of it. I don't know if it's huge. Yep. So I've been using that, and I've been like basing some PPC campaigns and kind of slipping it into my titles and descriptions on Amazon to see how those Longtail keywords rather are working, and I'm finding some results. But it's really interesting to hear you say that buzzword that's been in my mind for a couple of years of long tail keywords, and I'm sure there's a lot of people listening who aren't familiar with long tail keywords. I think I have a blog post on it. I can link it down below. In the interest of time, we don't need to go through what that is, but in short, it's would I be correct in saying it's a keyword that has a certain number of words in the actual keyword phrase itself?
Yeah. And like the examples I said of, spatula is the obvious keyword. And then like the long tail that a lot of people think of would be like that wooden handle red spatula, but then the like the long ones are like the ones that you may not think of. And yeah, so that's it. It's basically a series of keywords that people are searching for all day. Maybe they're not as high and like high search volume as just the spatula, but if 1,000 people are searching for it a month and you can capture even 1% of that audience, that's 10 extra sales, a month. And then if you find 100 keywords like that across all your products, that's a business, just off long tail keywords.
I'm completely doing my PPC campaigns incorrectly. I feel like cutting this interview off and just fixing it. I have a couple of keywords that they're just 2 words, and it's literally what the product is. So I won't obviously cut the interview short. I'm sure there's a lot more value that we're going to get into here. I'm considering not releasing the content. This is so good. But I'm sure I will. I'll put a podcast out, the video, and put a blog post with some links and stuff like that. But Chris, you, if you could explain to me the background here, you're the owner or the founder of MyPPCPal.com. Do you have a background in software development? Like I work in sales for a tech firm here we call it Silicon Republic, which is Ireland's answer to Silicon Valley, because all of the major tech firms, your Googles and your Facebooks and LinkedIn's and massive tech firms, all have their European headquarters here. So there's a bustling tech scene, but what I lack in my skill set is software development. I can sell software, but actually doing the development of it, and it's something I'd love to do, some sort of Amazon software. I have a couple of ideas floating around my head, but how did it start for you? Were you a developer or something like that at work, or did someone else help you with development?
No, so it started because, like I was saying, I was getting really invested into the pay-per-click, and I, on my personal account, was up to spending at the time, I think like $750 a day on my pay-per-click advertising on Amazon. And it was just time consuming. You know, I had close to 30 products at the time, and several campaigns on each of them. And that's just an exhausting task. But I would do it every single morning. Sometimes not 7 days a week, but most of the time, 7 days a week, it was my routine. I would kind of check on sales, make sure everything's cool, reply to any like super urgent customer stuff, and then I would do my PPC. So in 2017, I really decided, like first of the year, it was like my goal to automate my business. So I hired my virtual assistant. They took away a lot of these tasks that I was doing, but the big one left was like pay-per-click, like every morning, you know, 7 days a week. But it's what kept, I believe, my business so fueled, you know, so I didn't want to give it up. So I kind of, and I had shared my successes on pay-per-click with a few people, my brother's an Amazon seller. So I kind of shared with him, and it turned out all these people were like calling me, hey, Chris, how do I do this? You know, how do I do this? And then eventually some people started paying me to do their PPC. And then it got like really mundane. And I just said, you know, like a robot can do this, because it's literally a robot task. You know, I'm logging in and I'm doing this. I'm looking for the same things every day, and I'm pausing them if they're at a certain metric, or I'm lowering the bid if they're here, or I'm raising the bid if they're here. I'm looking for my negative keywords under certain levels, and I'm adding them if they're negative. So it was repeat tasks. So I kind of said, yeah, I need to, you know, figure out a way to do this. I had no development experience. And I was actually looking around for a bookkeeper for my business at that time too. That was like another automation thing that I was like, okay, I need to automate bookkeeping, outsource that. Looking for a bookkeeper, and I called some lady, and I told her, yeah, you know, okay, she's trying to get an idea for a quote for bookkeeping, and so what are your numbers and sales and all. And she's like, oh wow, like you're selling that much on Amazon. She goes, you need to talk to my husband. I thought this is like for a quote, you know. So I call her husband, and he's like, yeah, tell me more about what you do, you know. And he's like, oh well, we're software developers, and like we're dying to get into the Amazon space. So they actually wanted to like kind of like fund it, be part of the funding. We ended up not working out that, but basically they're like an entire software development team. And so I pay for seats at their office. It just so happens that they're like 5 minutes from my house. So we have, you know, 2 full-time developers there. We have a project administrator there, and we have extra team in India too. So we have like around the clock support now for My PPC Pal. But yeah, it was the weirdest experience, because, you know, I was like the Amazon side, and like basically here's what I do, and they would just like watch what I do, my morning routine, and then they kind of made a software out of that. And then they opened it up too to basically, if you know, if you have different ways, like maybe you don't do it exactly the way I do, so we had to kind of look into that too. And so it was like almost all of last year we were developing it, and then testing it, beta testing it, and literally just launching to the public in the last couple of months here. So yeah, it's been a long road, but no, I still know nothing about development, and
Wow.
the team does that. Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. I thought that anyone who has like an Amazon software is obviously an Amazon seller, but they're a software developer or something like that. I always thought it was a missing skill set. But geez, I'm gonna go find myself a software development team. I literally work with about 40 of them. I must start talking to them.
Yeah.
Well, they're pretty busy where we are, but I might look into it.
Yeah.
That's really amazing. And when did it kind of launch, or did you do sort of a launch, or did you kind of creep in like you do with your Amazon products? Did you creep into the space?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just a creepy creep. No, so we did the beta launch. So I had like all these people, right? I said I was talking to all these people, like they were close people, my brother and my mom are sellers. And then there were several others that I was actually getting paid to consult for them. So they were like the first, and I was told them, I'm like, hey, like I'm gonna do your pay-per-click, I'm gonna watch it, but the robot's doing it for me now. We didn't even have a name for it then. It was just the robot. And so I would still kind of oversee it and make sure it was doing what it was supposed to do. And that was back in like July of last year. So July 2017. And then, so literally since July of 2017, I have not touched my Amazon pay-per-click on my account. And we spent over $300,000 on advertising last year. So, and half the year that was run by the robot. um, and so that was July. And then in, I think it was September, late September, early October, we did our beta. And so I'm in a group of basically a group of sellers where the requirement is you have to do like $1 million in the past 12 months to get in. So it's extreme, like high level thinking. It's really cool. And so I shared it with that group, and they were like, I invited them to be my beta testers. And I figured, like, what better than like larger accounts to kind of stress the system, and really give me good feedback. So we did that beta launch in September, October. And then we've done what I would call like my soft launch, and that was just in December. But December started, and I went to the Capitalism Conference, Ryan Moran's conference. And then I came back, and then we had Christmas, and then I went on a 2-week vacation with my family for New Year's to the Cayman Islands. I was born there in the Cayman Islands, so we went back there to see my family there.
Cool.
So it's really been this soft launch of just letting the beta group spread it organically, and now like January coming, I'm on a mission now to kind of spread the word. We're kind of ready for like larger amounts of traffic now to start using the system. So yeah, just starting right now, really.
Excellent, brilliant. Well, wow. Well, I'm very happy that I'm probably the first. Am I the first podcast to interview you on this?
Yeah. So
yes,
there was another guy that was lined up, and he's like a traveler all over the world, like like the free spirit, in Thailand and all this. And so he just hasn't had a good internet connection. He was supposed to record with me last week, and we didn't. So
okay,
yeah,
cool.
you're the first. Yeah.
Someone else's loss, I guess.
Yeah.
I suppose there's 8 hours between you and I, between California and Dublin.
Wow,
so I can only imagine what the difference is between you and Thailand.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, who is your target audience for myppcpal.com? I know you mentioned the beta was quite large because obviously you needed to see people spending serious money on pay-per-click at the time, but do you like to have smaller sellers, smaller medium enterprises, or is this for the big boys, or is it open for everyone, do you think?
It's really, yeah, it's open for everyone. So we have kind of our preset formulas, and that's so the plan started at $49. So I made it a lower price point for someone that's getting started, because I remember when I was getting started and paying for these softwares was like a huge monthly expense, because it's not just paying for My PPC Pal, you're paying for your follow-up feedback, and maybe you're paying for like a tracking, like I don't know, I don't want to start calling out a bunch of names, but they add up, right? And you're paying for a tax, maybe monitoring collection thing, maybe you're paying for like an accounting. So yeah, the $49 price point goes up to 10 SKUs. So that's like our starter plan, right? And with that, we have, so like if you're a brand new seller and you don't know anything like that, this is all kind of going over your head. You're like, wow, I want to do that. Like I want to optimize my campaigns, but I have no idea where to start. I have an article that will kind of train you to do it on your own, which we can share. And then within the software, there's like 3 preset formulas, right? And so those you don't have to think about anything. They're called conservative, recommended, and aggressive. Recommended is kind of what I use, recommended or aggressive on my personal accounts. And that's just, if it's a new product, I'm going to use aggressive probably, like I said, the first 3 to 6 months that it takes me to get through that first order. And you're going to get a higher ACOS with that, right? But that's going to be like the ranking. And then Maybe on the second order, you can go to recommended. And then if it's like really ranking well and you're just like dominating, you can maybe tone it back to the conservative. So those are like preset. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to learn any of these things. Um, but you have to have a budget and kind of you have to be committed to pay-per-click, like, kind of like I was saying earlier, like look at it as an expense. Like don't look at it as like this immediate return, especially if you have a new product where the competitor's got 300 reviews and you've got two. You're going to have a higher ACOS and it's going to cost you more money, right? Now you can minimize those things by going after some of the long tails like I talked about and all that. So it's really, the software is for anyone as long as they're willing to play the game,
Yeah.
If you just want a 10% ACOS, there's definitely ways you can do it with My PPC Pal. You just basically, you can set your own custom formulas. You can say like anything that hits 10%, pause that word. I don't care what it, but I don't think you're going to get very far. We're going to pause all your words if you're a new product, because like I said, the competitors have several hundred reviews. They're ranking higher. And then, we go all the way up to the enterprise level. We have customers that have like 2,000 SKUs on My PPC Pal, and they have a custom formula for each product, that they've built themselves. So basically, you can tell it what to do. You can say, if the ACOS hits 40% on a keyword, pause it. If there's more than 10 clicks without a sale, pause it. You can basically create all these custom rules in there, and it will just do the operations for you. So we have all the way from like, I'm just getting started and I know nothing about PPC, all the way up to like huge businesses that are like, they basically have a person that's on their staff that all they do is PPC, but all they're doing is running My PPC Pal, like setting up the new campaigns and all that, and kind of overseeing it to make sure, add new words or whatever. If they find like I don't know, some new niche terms or something like that, they're adding them to their campaigns.
Yeah. So anyone who's watching or who's listening, if they're feeling a little bit lost or they're not quite following us on a functional level, on a kind of a basic level, My PPC Pal will plug into your Amazon account, obviously, and you're saying it has the power to pause campaigns based on certain rules. Is there functionality around changing bids, and how in detail can you go with these rules, or how kind of limited are you? It'll pause things, it'll start things. Would it change your bids for you and things like that, or can you
So
go ahead?
So what we do right now is, like I said, you can either do one of those pre-selected formulas that we've kind of set up for you, so you don't have to think about it, or if you actually know, or you kind of have your own ways. Basically, there's ways to do it in there. So you enter, I think there's like, if you're doing a fully custom formula, I think we ask for like 8 pieces of information, and we walk you through that. It's like, basically, at what point do you want to pause a keyword if it gets above this ACOS? At what point do you want to start lowering the bid on that keyword? So that's like a lower ACOS, right? So like maybe at 50% you want to pause it, but then at 40%, like you want to start lowering it before we pause it to maybe try to correct that. Then there's actually like raising bids. So like if you just have a word that's, I'm getting like 5% ACOS, and that kind of goes back to my original point of like, if you spend more, you'll kind of drive more sales. So we have the ones where we'll actually raise the bid if it's like a super low ACOS, because maybe you can drive more paid sales, sacrifice a little bit margin on those paid sales, but then you're going to drive more organic sales where you get your full margin on. So right now, we pause bids that are just terrible. We lower bids if they're kind of like bad, right, to try to correct them before they get to the terrible stage. We'll raise bids that are just like amazing, right? And maybe you could drive some more sales, and that will actually, your over profitability of your entire business will go up because you're kind of driving those high or those super low ACOS words like home. Then we add the negative search terms. So the negative search terms, like if you're bidding on that spatula word, right? If you're bidding as a broad or even a phrase on spatula, and the customer types in red wooden handle red spatula, your ad for spatula that you're bidding on, that keyword spatula, can still show up, right? Even though you're not bidding on that whole long tail, it will still show up. But what also might still show up is wooden black spatula. Well, maybe you're not selling a black spatula, right? Maybe you're only selling a red one. but customers are searching for black, and then your keyword of spatula is popping up and bidding, right? Then they click it and they say, no, I want a black one. This one's red, right? So we'll take that exact term that's not doing well. In this case, it would be black spatula, and we'll put a negative customer search term in there. So now your ad for spatula will still show, but if it's black spatula that wasn't converting, that's kind of gone. So now your ACOS can lower on those keywords too. So you can basically keep the same keywords, but have more profitability at them by getting like the junk out of the way that people are, you're bidding them on, not even knowingly. Amazon's showing your ad, and then people are clicking it and they're saying, no, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the red one or the black one. Where's the black one? So so we, pause bids, raise bids, lower bids, and then we add those search terms that I just kind of described.
Wow.
The negative search terms. Yeah.
Sold. Sold right there and then. What are your customers saying at the moment, or have you got any feedback from anyone in the beta? Are your beta testers still using it? Are people enjoying it? Are they finding it useful?
Yeah. So I would say 90% of the beta users are still using it.
Wow. Okay.
There's people that just they already had people on their staff doing it, or they can't like fathom thinking about like the robot doing it as well as they could. So they just don't like. There's like we don't trust it,
Yeah.
So they go back to kind of doing the clicks on their own, and then on the sign, we have a 30-day free trial too, so anyone can try it for free. So our retention rate on that free trial is probably like close to half of them will come off the free trial and start using it, which I think is good. I don't know, like it's not been long enough, right, to see any numbers, but like I know just from my experience that I will take advantage of those free trials as an Amazon seller for sure, and I've probably tried 20 softwares and I only use like 4 today. So that kind of tells me that 50% is probably a good ratio. We've had users that are paid users, and like one of them just came back last week and he's like, I have an audience kind of like you do, and he's like, I want to promote it to my audience. Like, are you okay with that? And so we set him up on like the affiliate code, and so far it's like a really good reaction. There's some really neat stuff that we're doing this first quarter that's going to like further automate it. And we're also focusing on just providing like just more data for the guy that wants to analyze it more, that's like maybe not hands off with it, or maybe they trust the robot if they just saw like every little piece of information. So like we have a dashboard right now that kind of shows you the basics, but it was set up as an automation tool, to where like I call them our best users, but our best users haven't logged in for 3 months because they trust the system and it's working. But then there's the people that want to log in, they want to know what's happened. So we're going to provide more feedback for them on the dashboard. So we're improving it a lot over the next several months now. And the retention rate I feel is really good, and the feedback is great,
Yeah, brilliant.
The people that I get negative feedback from, because everyone has negative feedback, are usually unrealistic expectations, to be honest. So it's their first product, and they have a few reviews, and they're maybe bidding on those like 20 super highly competitive keywords. I mean, it's just a fact that you will not get a profitable ACOS or 10, 20, 30% on that product until you get the reviews, until your conversions are there and all that, until you're like competing with the guys on page one. And I go through that on my own products where I know I'm going to spend that money,
Yeah.
So yeah, if you go into it with realistic expectations, understanding that you're building a business and like the long game is to get it to like a break even on each product, but in the beginning you're going to spend more, but it really does pay off, I think you'll like the software.
Excellent. I'm going to ask the questions that I would ask if I was about to make the purchase. Customer service. Obviously, I don't see a lot can go wrong with an automation like this, but if something does, if you got some sort of a team, or is it yourself, or can people approach you guys on social media, or how would you guys handle that?
Yeah, so the best way we like to receive support is through email, from the email that's attached to the account. Just we can right off the bat provide better support, so we can look up your account, we can kind of see what's going on with your campaigns. Like usually it's obviously related to that, you know. We have never had anything related really to the software, like in the beta stages we did, where like the software wasn't like performing its tasks, you know. But we've never had like it's not doing this type of feedback. It's usually like, I signed up for your service and why is my ACOS not 10%?
Yeah.
And so we like to receive those in email from the email you're signed up with, but certainly like we're on the social media a lot. The Right now I look at every ticket. I won't handle every ticket, but I'll get involved in a lot of tickets, and it's like it's a side benefit right now. I don't know how long it will last, but I've been helping sellers, you know, through customer service where they sign up. And
Hmm.
I mean, there was a guy I walked through setting up his email sequence to help him get more reviews and all that, just like my perspective as a larger seller, you know. So I'm kind of offering that right now. I
Okay.
don't know how long that will last. So I am still involved
Sure.
involved in every single ticket. If it's technical, if it's like truly a technical thing where it's like, I don't know, we're not uploading your information back to your account, you know, to show you or something like that.
Hmm.
The technical team takes care of that. One of the programmers, like I said, that are like 10 minutes from my house, take care of that. If it's like a question of how to, we have the project administrator does that. And then I'll kind of jump in on some of those too, you know, but I see everything, and I'll respond to ones where it's like they're just looking for help, you know.
Hmm. Yeah.
Or maybe like as far as expectations go, I'll jump in on those because it's a hard one to explain. And like I've, I've been the new seller too before, and you're trying everything you can, you know. It's
Yeah, of
like
course.
sometimes to hear it from a voice of reason, even though it's like this other side of other side of an email. But I think stuff like this is going to help them get to know me better. But like I'm there helping people too, like
Hmm.
myself. So yeah, for the most part, like if it's technical, right, you're going to get the technical team. If it's like just something about like, hey, I have a question, they can actually just, you know, they can contact me personally,
Hmm.
Chris at myppcpal.com.
Okay.
And I'm happy to explain um, like how the software functions, or maybe better ways to set it up for their products, or you know, all that stuff I like
Mhm.
talking about right now. So
Do you want to shout out your phone number so people can text you? I'm just joking.
no. No. Yeah,
uh,
no, I don't actually. That's the one thing, even like with my Amazon business, so we don't have a customer service number. I think it's just better too with stuff like
mhm,
this, honestly. Like even for your Amazon customers, like how are you going to help them on the phone if you're out with your kids, or if you're at dinner with your girlfriend, or you're at the
mhm.
beach with your friends? Like you can't offer assistance at that point anyway.
Yeah.
So take the emails, wait till you can log into your Amazon account, or in this case, I wait till I can log into my PPC Pal, like
Mhm.
the admin panel, see their account, see what's going on, you know.
Yeah,
So I think
I've quite a
you'll
large
get frustrated
of
customers.
course. Yeah,
Like
you
if you answer
definitely
the phone
will.
and you're like, oh, I'm actually at the beach right now, like I'll
Mhm.
call you back. So
Of
I just avoid
course.
it.
Yeah, no, you'll definitely get, because you'll have people who want to solve the problem in their first contact with you, but by phone they're going to end
Hmm.
up on hold, and if they're on hold, it gets worse. And
Yeah.
I've learned through my years in the customer service industry that for software type of stuff, people have an expectation once they submit a ticket or an email that they might wait a little while, and you know. A lot of tickets that I've logged personally, I'll put my hands up and admit it with different softwares. Between sending that ticket and submitting the ticket and waiting for the response, which might have just been a couple of hours, it's actually resolved itself in a lot of
Yeah.
cases.
Yeah.
A couple
I've
of
done
guys I
that too.
speak to who work in the IT industry, they say I'll never address a ticket within 4 or 5 hours because 95% of them resolve themselves. People are just too hasty to reach out and
Hmm.
get things fixed where there might not be a real issue at all. So, yeah, I would definitely definitely agree with that. I'm as a consumer of software products for Amazon. I would definitely be. I'm happy to log tickets and things like that. I don't need a phone number, and chances are, if
Hmm.
I'm a new Amazon seller, I'm probably at work anyway and can't make the
Yeah,
call.
you don't
So,
want to, yeah, be on the
mhm,
phone. Yeah, yeah, and we see that a lot. And yeah, to your point of like stuff fixing itself, we're lucky in that like we're not tax jar, right? I'll take them for an example where like if they don't file someone's tax return, that's a big offense, you know.
mhm,
Like it's not dismissible by just like, oh, sorry. But like if we miss, like if for any reason we haven't had a crash since we've been live on like the live server now since November. We haven't had a crash or anything like that yet with the software. I'm sure we'll hit it one day. But luckily enough, we do have the 24/7, like I said, because we have a team in India and a team here in California. So they kind of rotate shifts. But if the software was down for 24 hours, the worst thing that will happen is we'll optimize your campaigns that next day when we're back. So it's not like we're going to miss anything, or like you're going to miss all these sales, or like your customers aren't going to get responses. Lucky for us, the way the software, what it does, it's not critical to do it daily, but we do it daily just to kind of stay on top of it. So if we do miss a day, it's not like the end of the world, you know. So
Wow.
we're lucky in that sense.
That's actually a really good point. Yeah, the worst case scenario is you get freshly optimized keywords.
Yeah, you'll just, like by the time, we've responded, like, okay, well, we can run it now, and maybe it's 4 p.m., like, or it's going to run itself at midnight. So like not a make or break deal anyway. So
perfect.
But we'll always reply like the same day to most tickets.
I was on the website earlier looking at the pricing points. Can I upgrade? Can I downgrade from whatever I decide to start out with? Is that kind of thing possible? Let's say I start out with the first price point, and it does so well, and I'm doing so well on Amazon that I actually want to expand into other SKUs. I'm growing as an Amazon seller. Can the solution scale up with me? Can I just upgrade packages and things like that?
So it will scale with you automatically as you grow. So we're based on the number of advertised SKUs. So like if you're a seasonal seller, and let's say you sell 100 during the fourth quarter, and then you trail back to 10, our plan will trail back to that lowest plan when you reach the 10 advertised SKUs, and then it'll go up with you. So as you're advertising 100 SKUs, we're going to charge you like you're advertising 100 SKUs. So we'll scale like as you grow. So like once you get to that 11 SKU point, you're going to automatically bump up to the next plan, so long as you're advertising for those 11 SKUs. And then let's say you would ever have to, like, that SKU didn't do well, you're back down to 10 SKUs, then you're back down on the lowest plan automatically. So it kind of scales with you. Like you don't necessarily pick a plan. All the plans include like everything the other features do. They're just based on the number of SKUs that you have. And it's really, we've kept our plans really low. If you look at like some of your other options as far as like hiring a consultant or hiring a staff member, obviously it's going to like destroy those prices. But even when you get into like the larger sellers where they've got 1,000 SKUs and they're paying $300, I take a look at like our smallest plan, because that's the majority of sellers are 10 SKUs and under. It's $49. And so like I look at that as like, if we can pause one keyword, honestly, we could probably save you that $49. Like one bad keyword, or like 2 negative search terms that you maybe didn't catch, you know? Like the software will definitely pay for itself. Where I think it doesn't make sense is if you are spending $10 a month on advertising, right? You're not even spending that $50 a month. Like just kind of do it yourself there. But anytime you get up to that level where you're spending even $10 a day, you know, that's $300 a month. I would argue that we could probably cut some of that over the long term and almost pay for our whole service, you know, the $50. Just by what we're doing, the daily optimizations and stuff you may not catch right away, or maybe you don't even know where to look for it. Because there are multiple reports from Amazon. It's not just like one report or one area to look at, you know. So it's multiple reports you have to look at, and you may not know where to look, and then you may not know, does this mean it's good or bad if it's like this? So but it as far as the plans go, it will automatically scale with you based on your advertised SKUs.
Well, that sounds like a really fair deal, that it would scale up and scale down. You know, sometimes you might not advertise X amount of SKUs and you might forget, you leave it running. There's a lot of, I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of companies out there who won't remind you that you're not utilizing the full service you're paying for. So that sounds pretty fair, to be honest. And anyone who's listening or watching, today is the 30th of January 2018, so we're talking about pricing today. It might go up, it might go down, there might be special offers in future, so I would just urge anyone who's listening or watching to head over to PPCPal.com and just have a look at the pricing at that point. Just in case you have any special offers on in future or something like that. Just to put a timestamp on the pricing we're talking about today.
Sure. Yeah. And what we can do too, if you want, is we can set you up with like a code for your viewers.
Oh yeah.
That
cool.
Like anyone who kind of watches this and wants to try it, they can have like a discount ongoing.
Okay.
So we'll set that up and then we can post it with the video.
Excellent. Great. Yeah, we can totally do that. I don't think I've earned any affiliate commissions based on my interview skills, as it's my first interview. But a lot of the value you've provided today, I think, is really valuable. Anyone who's watching or listening to this, I'll put the links for the podcast episode. The links will just be below it. I'll throw a blog post up on the website as well, so you have this video embedded, and I'll take out key moments and write a little blog article about it as well. And also on YouTube, I'll put this up on the channel as well. Just to plug your social media, your Facebook, you've got a Facebook page at the moment. Do you do Twitter or Instagram or anything like that?
So we have the Facebook that we've kind of worked on a little bit. And then I just started Instagram like in December. So that's like where I'm focusing. So yeah, both of them. We have a Twitter, but we have like no action there yet. But so I would say like join us on Instagram probably is what I'm focusing on this year for the My PPC Pal. So it's just at My PPC Pal on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter. But we're going to be most active probably on Instagram.
Cool. Yeah, Twitter, I find this kind of the tech industry or the kind of business side, it's not for it. Twitter's for whimsical thoughts.
It's like celebrity.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Like the celebrity social platform, really. Like Trump and Kim Kardashian are on there, and
yeah, Trump is huge on Twitter, which is a podcast on its own. Anyone who's listening to this, I hope you found value. I've definitely found value. But I'm logging into Seller Central and changing my Amazon bids for PPC. So Chris, just want to say thanks a lot for joining us today on the podcast and on the YouTube video. If you want to come back, you're absolutely more than welcome to do so. It's a pleasure to talk to you, and it's nice to talk to you a lot about your own journey and not just try to talk about the product. It's a genuinely exciting product, and I think it'll do very well. To be honest, it seems good, and you're scaling up and you're scaling down with the service itself. So thanks a million for joining us today. Anyone who is wanting to get Chris back on the podcast can do so. Just keep sending me messages or put your comment under this video, and I'll be happy to reach out to Chris again and try to get him on. I'm sure, as today we're just talking about PPC, but it seems you have a wealth of knowledge on everything across the Amazon board. You mentioned influencer marketing, you mentioned a few different categories, and you obviously have a lot of knowledge in the area. So that's pretty much it.
That sounds good. Yeah, now I'd be glad to come back on. It's part of my I'm not going to tell you my Reddit username, but I'm on there. I like to give back. I like to help the new sellers that are genuine in it and that are like they're actually trying the right way. Like if you approach me anything about like, is this against terms of service? Like it probably is.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I like to secretly help sellers. I'm not going to be out there selling a course or anything like that or become a guru, but I like to give back because in the beginning of my journey, there was like nobody out there there was like such limited information that it would have been helpful,
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I have my secret Reddit account that I do it, but obviously be glad to come back and offer some more knowledge to the audience.
Excellent. Yeah, I'd be more than happy to have you. So thanks very much for joining me today. I don't really know how to end interviews, to be honest, but I see a lot of people on YouTube, they just kind of turn it off. So I might do that.
Good.
Pleasure to talk to you, Chris. Thanks so much for joining me today. Okay.
All right. Talk to you again.
Bye-bye.